across the world. The real alternative. FabRadioInternational.com.
Drifting, this rocket got to roll. So I hit the road and made my getaway.
I'm playing a brief clip of that song. I want to welcome everybody here to Fab Radio International. This is the Don's Hit List. And on the phone with me is the current lead singer. He's been with the band for quite some time now, the Climax Blues Band. That song, Couldn't Get It Right, was in the band's history one of their biggest songs of the time. Graham D is the vocalist now, performs them live, that song, but they've got a brand new album out with a lot of great songs that we're going to focus tonight. And there are so many good songs on their latest album that I really want to highlight it here for everybody. And so I'm very excited about it. This new album that came out is called Hands of Time. And we're going to go through several tracks here with the man named Graham D. How you doing, Graham?
Hi, Don. I'm very well, thank you, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited about this. There's so many good songs on this record that I wanted to talk to you about. And the premise of this show is going through the moments in a song that make you want to play the moment over and over again. And there are quite a few in this song. And so when I play them, if there's memories that evoke or inspiration behind them or anything that comes to mind, go ahead and share them with me, and we'll go off on tangents sometimes.
That's not a problem. I can do that for you. No problem.
So the first song that I wanted to bring up off of Hands of Time is called What's Your Name? I want to go to the 2-minute and 5-second mark, and you'll hear why. It's a moment that really stood out to me, and I really like. This is, again, What's Your Name?
What's your name? Just wanna say that you're driving me crazy. Hey, what's your name? Just wanna say, won't somebody save me from
What I loved was your vocals there leading into this sax solo. And hey, what's your name? I love the way you do that. And you're driving me crazy. Your voice is so good.
I played with the saxophone player BB for a number of years before we joined the Climax Blues Band. So I have this thing with BB Aldridge that I kind of he almost reads what I'm about to do, and I kind of like that connection that we've got between the sax. We've got that connection between the sax and the guitar in the Climax Blues Band. It's always been there. With all the previous lineups of the band, that has been something that has been paramount with the band, I think, which is one of the things that makes the band stand out from other sort of those sort of soul-y bluesy acts that have been around. You've got this saxophone and guitar that do a lot of mimicking of the melody line, but BB and I have also spent a lot of time doing that. So that was one of the main reasons why I joined the band, because I quite like that interaction between the players, where the vocalist will sing a tune or a melody, and the saxophone player will hang on to that and then take it into the solo, and the solo will become part of and it's also a very vocal, it's also a very top-liney kind of solo. It's got a great tune. You can almost sing that saxophone line. It's not just a saxophone player blowing a set of notes. It's a really well-pieced, well-versed piece of saxophone. So BB's brilliant at that.
Oh yeah, BB, and the saxophone is such a beautiful instrument. as I
When
said,
played properly, it's got a lot of passion and a lot of soul.
Yes.
And I think you really have to be an exponent of that instrument to play it well. I know I'm very fortunate to have been able to play with a lot of good musicians in my career, and BB stands out as one of the go-to saxophone players for me in the UK, let alone just in the Climax, but in the UK alone, he's excellent.
Right. I found it, I really appreciate what you said there, that there's a chemistry, that you guys have worked together for so long that it's not just coincidence that there's this beautiful flow from your vocal right into the sax. And I bet you live, that same transparency is there because you guys are so connected.
I think what we do with the songs now, we've got the album versions of the songs, and we've taken those and they've got a little bit more energy and a little bit more aggression on our live set. And I think that's paramount now. That's what happens. I give BB a look, and he looks at me, and he just knows what he just reads what I'm going to do, and I like that interaction between the band. And the same with Roy on the drums and Neil on the bass. They play with each other for a long, long, long time. And they don't even need to look at each other. They just know what's going to happen. So there's lots of new things happening on stage, which is really exciting. Les and George have been playing with each other for a long time. So again, there's lots of eye contact on stage, and lots of new things happening every time we play the songs. There's something different happening. There's a new concoction of the tune on there. So I kind of like that.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, now we're going to go into 17th Street Canal. There's a moment here at 1 minute and 23 seconds that I want to share with everyone, and it's right here.
Gonna fall. The only sure thing was we couldn't do nothing at all. I needed help just a little from somebody. Help just a little. Could anybody hear us?
I love there. Now, it's interesting to me, the perception of when you hear that almost had a Pink Floyd vibe to it. That whole part in the Another Brick in the Wall trilogy. It had that same kind of low, like it's ramping up into something.
Yeah, it's about this. A lot of the tunes that I write, I like to put tension and release in them. I think it's important that you have that as a songwriter, and that you allow a song to just start somewhere and turn into something. That song was written about the 17th Street Canal. I mean, I don't know whether you know it, but I mean, it was August 29th, so we're coming up to it. It was actually yesterday, August 29, 2005, 6:30 in the morning. The east side of the 17th Street Canal in New Orleans breached, releasing storm surge flood waters into the city.
Yep.
Took out buildings, homes, infrastructure, took 31 people's lives, leaving thousands injured and homeless. I mean, and I watched that over here in the UK unfold on the news, and just realised that it doesn't matter what country you come from, the powers that be that control the rescue operations, it just seemed to take forever for anybody to send anything that was of any use to those people stranded on roofs and walking through sewage and it just looked like hell on earth, and it just looked like it just took too long for the governments to make any input on trying to save these people, and they kind of relied on the people of New Orleans to save themselves, and I think that's the part of that part of the States, I think, always has that strength. Every time I've read anything or watched anything, it's about how strong-minded and how the community comes together.
Yes.
Probably more so in that part of the States, the most. It just seems to have this fluidity of, if something goes wrong, we won't wait for government to make any input. We'll do it ourselves, and then they can come in and take the credit later on. And no, they don't seem to sort of worry about you know, how much these things cost, how much time it takes. It just gets done. But still, you know, there's still parts of that region that are still in devastation, and it's just so sad, you know.
Yes. Yeah, that was Katrina.
It was Katrina. Yeah. We did actually put the word Katrina in there to start off with, but I took it out because I didn't want to make it that obvious that that I was writing a song about.
Yeah.
You know, Hurricane Katrina. It's just too obvious to sort of point. Well, it's just too obvious, Don. You know, people just go, "Oh,
exactly.
That's what the song's about."
Exactly.
And these kind of things happen all over the world, not just in New Orleans, but they happen all over. You know, especially out in Malaysia and places like that. You know, tsunamis happening and what have you, and it just takes so long for the governments to take action. You know, so. But yeah, 17th Street Canal was written, you know, purely for that sort of community there, just to know that, not that it does any good, mate. If it went to number one, I would have given all the money that the song raised to the relief fund, you know, or something like that. I'm afraid that we're not. I mean, I'm not Pink Floyd, and I'm not Bono, and I haven't got that sort of money. So it seems as the only thing that we can do is to keep playing the song. And to keep hoping that people will buy into what the song's about, and then when these things do happen, that they do give to a disaster fund at some point, because you know, you can't rely on local governments to do anything about it. You have to do it yourself. So that's basically what the song's about and why it was written.
That's correct. You know, Harvey came through here a couple of years ago, hit Texas and Houston. And what you said there, the spirit of community came out, because you'd watched a bunch of Houstonians out there helping each other through the rising floodwaters. There is something special that happens in tragedy. Good usually comes out and triumphs, and people help each other. And as you said, you know, keeping it ambiguous to a name does help people when they're going through other tragedies. Kind of takes the label off of it being something specific. And so,
the only reference to it was 17th Street Canal. That's
right.
So that you know, if people know about it, then they know that was the thing that breached. You know, that was the reason why it breached. It's because it just wasn't strong enough.
Absolutely. Well, which
comes from funding, Don. You know, if these things were funded properly and built properly, and then the upkeep of them was done properly. Then you know, hopefully you wouldn't get these kind of things. We've just had something not similar to it over here. It's nowhere near similar, but we have a dam which holds all the water back in a place in Derbyshire, and we've had some quite heavy rain over in the UK. In probably last month, it rained pretty heavily, and the dam kind of it overwhelmed the dam, and it broke away a piece of this, you know, the wall that was holding up the water, you know. And this dam is like over 100 years old. So the thing is, these things get built, but very little thought goes into, you know, how concrete lasts over these years and how it decays and what should be done, because it just costs too much money, you know. And and then again, town planners put commercial and communities within those kind of places, you know. When it's just like, to me, it seems like a crazy thing to do, you know. If you've got a dam holding billions of tons of water, you don't stick a town underneath the dam. However lovely the view is, you're just, you know, you're spinning a roulette wheel, mate. Something's going to happen at some point, and and sure enough, it usually does, you know.
I still often wonder why people build homes next to volcanoes. You know, eventually, at some point, something bad could happen. You know, I guess it's the risk to live in something nice. Some people assume a risk, but to your point, there are things engineering-wise. You know, that whole thing down in New Orleans, that was a levee that was poorly engineered, and so
yes, exactly.
And like what Led Zeppelin said, when the levee breaks, you know, that's exactly.
That's it. That's exactly what happens when the levee breaks, you know.
Yep.
And sadly, the value on people's lives, especially in that part of the States, doesn't seem to be valued very much. They'll just let them sort it out themselves. It's a very sad situation, especially in 2019. It's like race, colour, creed, sexuality. None of that stuff should matter anymore. But I'm afraid it still does. In virtually every country in the world, there's a problem with religion or sexuality or race or the colour of skin I think we should be just so beyond all that. That was so yesterday, but I'm afraid it's not, man. It's just still so today, and it's just tiresome. Tiresome.
You would think, according to Darwin, most of us would have evolved, but some people are stuck. They haven't evolved yet.
They haven't, no, and I don't know why. I can't understand why they haven't evolved. But hey, that's the way things are, and it's so. I don't even know whether it's education. I think it just comes from breeding. It sounds like these people are just not willing to accept anything else other than themselves, and I get that. That's kind of safety, then, isn't it? You feel safe when you're surrounded by people of your own kind. But there is only one race, mate, and that's the human race. And
that's correct.
And that's it. Bottom line, you cut me and I bleed red. You cut someone else and they bleed red. It just seems very strange to me, and I'm bewildered by it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. So we'll move into Hands of Time. Hands of Time, kind of a segue, because the hands of time keep ticking. 1 minute and 50 seconds. I'm going to go to this right now, and we'll play it together and discuss it for everyone here.
Have been and gone, and some of us weren't here that long. I think it's about time we did some rearranging. So many things are left unsaid, too many people easily led. But if it was plain to see, then I could sort it out easily. But I never know who's knocking at my door. So many stake a claim to a title or a name that I don't know anymore. But until it happens, you can't stop the lifetime going round and round and round, round and round. They just don't stop moving.
I just want to say there, I love your vocals there.
Thank you, man.
It sounds so good with the music and what you're singing there. And it really is about the hands of time, and just a beautiful song. And thank
you very much. Yeah, I hadn't been in the band very long, Don, before I realised that there were a lot of skeletons in the closet with this band, as there are with lots of bands that have been going for decades and what have you. And I soon started to realise that as soon as an original member leaves the band, there's this perception that the band isn't the band anymore, and it's kind of tough, to fill the shoes of these people that were there. But you know what? The up until there was a few people that were there. Pete Haycock was there, and Colin Cooper, and a bass player called Derek Holt. Well, Derek Holt was the last one of the clan to move on, and he moved on in sort of like 1980, and hasn't raised his head for anything, So the band's been going since 1980, and it's now 2019 with almost the current lineup, apart from me and Chris, the BB Aldridge. So I don't quite get. I think the thing is that the band did a huge amount of work in those early years, and they seem to be the albums, obviously, that have been recorded. The band was that time and that place that sort of band, that sort of genre of music was very popular. So record deals were easy to get and what have you. But it's that line. Some of us have been and gone, and some of us weren't here that long. Is a direct reference to the members and ex-members of the Climax Blues Band.
Very.
You know, some of us have been and gone, and some of us, like myself and BB, we haven't been there that long. And so many stake a claim to a title or a name. These were the skeletons that I was getting from the closet, as all bands that have been around for decades get. You know, people raise their heads and say, oh, well, I was there and I had something to do with that, and I had something to do with that, and that was my idea. And the thing now is that a lot of that's coming up on social media about certain members of the band, you know, who aren't there anymore, claiming this and claiming that. And to be quite honest, there's no one to argue their story anymore. It's just their opinion now, and I think when you leave a band and you sign documentation to say that you've left the band and you no longer claim, you know, you can't stake a claim to the band anymore. You know, I think you should just move on. And I think what's happened is that when we started to celebrate our 50th anniversary, not our, but the band, Climax Blues Band, the name of the band had been around for 50 years, we decided to try and do a celebration. And I probably naively said to the band, wouldn't it be a great idea if we got in touch with all the ex-members of the band and we did a little fundraiser somewhere, and got as many living, surviving members of the Climax Blues Band who have been through, because there's been loads. There's been, 20 different people in the band since it formed. Wouldn't it be nice to get everybody back together again and us do a little concert and have 4 drum kits on stage and 4 keyboards, you know, and da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, and what have you. And it sort of leaked out on social media, and we got quite a lot of ex-members of the band raising their heads and saying, oh, you should have rung me directly, I shouldn't have found out about it on Facebook or whatever. And I suppose they were right, but it was never meant, you know, it was never meant to cause anybody any harm. It was done from the goodness of our hearts, you know.
Right, no.
But it did cause quite a lot of hassle, and still does to this day, you know. But listen, man, I haven't got any history with the band, so it's just like war off a duck's back to me. It's just move on, you know. You shouldn't have left the band in the first place. There's no point saying that you hold some kind of, you know, ownership of the band when you've been, you know, sunning yourself on a beach for the last 40 years, you know.
I get it in the sense of if one of the members wrote a song that was big, maybe I get that. But other than that, you know, pieces get interchanged all the time in bands.
They always do, my friend. And I think what happened with the Climax, from what I can gather, I mean, I may be totally wrong, but from what I can gather, the 2 hits that they had were Couldn't Get It Right and I Love You. Those are the 2 major hits. And the band used to play Couldn't Get It Right, but I don't think they were that fond of I Love You.
Derek Holt wrote
And I think this kind of drove a wedge between the fellow who wrote it and the rest of the band. And I think some of the band wanted to do this and some of the band wanted to do that. And unless you can be grown up about this and just say, listen, you know, let's not be any genre of music, let's just be a band. Bowie was just a band. He didn't ever tie himself down. You couldn't say he was this, that, or the other. You know, it's just people like that survive forever. The Rolling Stones, you know, they're not just a blues band. They were at the beginning, but they've done all sorts of music over the years, you know. And it's like they're just a band. They just make music, and I think that's what the Climax are. We just make music, and I'm afraid that what happens over the years is that you get corralled into a certain genre of music. Well, I don't think the Climax Blues Band has ever been a certain genre of music, but I think that sometimes members of the band that are there want to continue doing that style of music, you know.
No, absolutely.
So this is the good thing about this album, is that you can't really stick it in any category. It's just a great band making great music. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
No, great job. And hence why you guys titled the album Hands of Time. I think
you can't turn those hands back. You've got to move on. You can't keep harping back to the history of, oh, wasn't it great when this was good, you know? This is what the States are doing at the moment with their politics, and the UK are doing at the moment with their politics.
Oh.
They're harping back to a time when things were better for a certain
group of
demographic of people. Well, you can't go back to that. you just can't go back to it. It's that was, I mean, I used to love it when I was 8 years old. No responsibilities. You just didn't have a care in the world. Just rode around on my bike all the time listening to music, and it's like, but I can't go back to those years. They're gone. That's the history. That's the past. You've got to work on what is the present, what is now, and what is happening now. And I think this seems to be the problem with the world at the moment, is that so many demographics of people all over the world want to go back to a time when things seemed to be a little bit simpler, when they didn't have to interact with anybody. They just had their own kind around them, and it's like, I don't know. Again, to me, it's prehistoric, man. It's prehistoric. There's so many people still dragging their knuckles around on the floor that they just haven't evolved yet.
Well,
it's frustrating, Don. It's frustrating because I've got grandchildren now.
Yes, and they're going to live in this,
and they're having to grow up in this world at the moment, and it's a bit rubbish at the moment. There's just so many divisions, and race seems to have risen its ugly head again. The right wing seems to have raised its ugly head again, and fascism seems to have raised its ugly head again. And I thought those things were sort of not finished, but just not under control, that's the wrong word, but do you know what I'm trying to say? I thought we'd got a handle on these, and it was just a small minority of people now that just still wanted to believe in that. But it seems that that's not the point, that's not the case. It seems like it's, as soon as someone gets up and stands up and says, da-da-da-da-da, you suddenly get millions of people going, oh, well, yeah, I think that as well. And you think, oh, really? Oh, well, right, I thought we'd put that to bed, or I thought that was on its way to getting some kind of conclusion to it, but it just doesn't. It seems to have all gone back and taken us back, and I think that seems to be the major problem at the moment, is that the powers that be have taken a lot of people back, regressing back to a time when things were less complicated. You didn't have to learn another language because everyone spoke your language. You didn't have to deal with people with different creeds and colours because transport and the way we travel around the world wasn't as easy back then. And
yes.
So Hands of Time, it's all those things, mate. It's all those things bagged into one.
And hence the Hands of Time. I just want to mention something to everyone on this same station, Fab Radio. There's a show called The Mancunian Candidates. Get what I did there? Not the Manchurian, but the Mancunian for Manchester. Hosts Paul Ripley, who's also one of the big people, and Mike Royce. They do a show where they do U.S. and UK politics, and they talk about the very things you were just saying, or they talk about on the show. So anyone outside, go out and check that out as well. And this, I'm telling you, you got to get the Hands of Time. This record is so good, you got to play it from beginning to end. There's another track I want to play, Faith. And Faith at 2:18 has got a moment here I want to play for everybody. Let's play this 2:18 right here. The song is Faith. Holy mackerel, is that guitar beautiful?
I know.
Woo!
What a solo.
That is what you call a solo. That is gorgeous.
That is what you call a guitarist.
Woo! Let's plug your guitarist.
He's an Les Hunt is a much... I don't think he's underrated, but he should be up there with your Rory Gallagher's and your Eric Clapton's. His tone is beautiful.
Oh.
His choice of notes are impeccable. you know, the lead guitar is a very personalised thing. It's improvised emotion, and Les has got a real handle on how to play his guitar. And I know there's loads of guitarists out there that can shred and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But this has got, for me as a soul man, this has got this puts the hairs on my arms up every time I hear that ba ba doo beep beep boo. You know, those they're just so vocal to me. Absolutely. It reminds me of the sort of slide guitar that Derek Trucks would play.
Oh, yeah.
There's a particular track called Midnight in Harlem that Derek Truck plays, a beautiful slide on there. And whenever I hear him play that, I just get goosebumps, you know. All those bumps come up on my arm and around my neck, and I just sit there listening to it. And it's like as if it's someone singing. It's just beautiful. And that's the thing for me that makes that track for me. Les's interpretation of his guitar solo is just sublime.
Yeah, see, Les Hunt gave us the goosebump moment there. That's what the show is about. When I heard, you don't know how many times, Graham, I've played that moment of the song over and over again. And I highly advise everyone, get the CD or go out wherever you can get the music to buy it. Must buy it. And listen to this album with headphones on. But when you get to Faith, just really take in that solo. It is a gorgeous solo. And
beautiful.
So hats off to Les. That is amazing. Wrong time. Wrong time, wrong
place.
Wrong time, wrong place is the last track.
Finishes the album off, yeah.
And but it's also the last track on the show that I want to highlight, and it's at 3 minutes and 10 seconds. We're going to go here right now because this really stood out to me as well. 3 minutes and 10 seconds. This thing is a beauty. Here we go.
I was just the wrong man in the wrong place, and everything else in between. Ooh, you gave me nothing. Ooh, you gave me nothing at all. I was just the wrong man, wrong face, wrong time, wrong place. Ooh, you gave me nothing. Ooh, you gave me nothing at all. I was just the wrong man, wrong face, wrong time, wrong place. Ooh, you gave me nothing. Ooh, you gave me nothing at all. No.
Oh my God. You have to close your set with that song. Right? That is the perfect closing set song or an encore song. That is so good. It just fills you up with all that energy, raw emotion, like revivals. Some of these like spiritual revivals that people go to. That's the type of song where it just lets all the energy out and you feel
it.
There
was a few people that were heavily influenced by, you know, I was heavily influeed by, you know, Bob Seger and Bruce Springsteen, and watching these guys do concerts, and their last track would always be that kind of, you know, big anthemic, it would just get you, and you just go, I just don't want this to finish, you know, and also the lovely thing about that little clip that you played there is that I've displaced the chorus. So in all the other choruses that you hear, the vocal is right on the beat and it's all the way through. And then on those last two choruses, the wrong time, wrong place, wrong time, wrong place is a really displacement of where the vocal should go. So you're not expecting it. So because it's, you know, I like to do that with choruses. You know, it's you've heard it once and it'd be nice to see if there's another way that it could go. And the problem is when I wrote it, I did 4 or 5 different versions, and all the choruses were displaced, and then all the choruses weren't displaced, and then one of them was, and the rest of them were. So I kept playing between all the choruses and just to see. And I thought it was a good time just to put it in the last chorus because it's gone then. You know, the track's off, and yeah. So I kind of like that, and I love the instrumentation that the band do on that. It's just we look at each other before this one starts, and it now goes on a lot longer than on the album now. It's the last track that we play when we're live, and it's a point in time where the band's really, really, really rocking. And you've got to understand, mate, most of the band are 65 plus. So
Yes.
for them to get in there and really tie up after an hour and a half show, it's an ask. Young cats can do it. They can go and play 2-hour shows and play really fast, energetic music. But we're all a little bit old now, and it does take it out of you show after show after show. So I think that's probably the reason why we leave that one to the end, just so that we can just put our last ounce of energy into the show. And I walk off the stage at this. I thank the audience and I thank the band, and I just disappear. And I go and stand side of stage, and I turn around and I watch the boys kick the living daylights out of this song. It just keeps rocking and just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where I then have to come back on. I can't not be a part of it anymore. I've observed it from an audience perspective, which I kind of love doing. And yeah, I mean, and then you just come back on and you finish the song off, and it's just got so much energy, and it's a great album finisher for the band, and a great album, a great live track to finish with as well.
I often wondered what singers did when they went off stage. Now I know. They watch.
Well, I just stand there and watch. Some people disappear and have a costume change. I just turn around and stand side of stage and watch the band.
Jam.
And I think to myself, you are so fortunate to be a member of this band. There's an immense amount of respect going on in the band. There's no egos in this band. The album is split 6 ways, so everybody gets the same remuneration, whether they were part of the writing process or not. It's totally immaterial. From my perspective, the album wouldn't have been written had I not been a member of this band.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, these songs are the responsibility of everybody, and the album is the responsibility of everybody, and everybody has inputted into making what I consider to be a really good Climax Blues Band album. And I think it stands up, not just because I'm in the band, Don, and not because I had a part in writing it. I just listened to it, and I listened to all the other. I think the band have done like 21 studio albums, or this is the 21st studio album that the Climax Blues Band have recorded as a unit. And I listened to this version of the band, and I listened to all the other albums, and I just go, no, this is yeah. This is right. This is there with it. This is there with it.
Yes.
So I'm extremely proud and extremely happy that the boys accepted the tunes and have turned them into what that they turned out to be. Yeah. And
I love it. I love to hear it. I'm sure the band will love. They probably know how much you appreciate the camaraderie that goes on, and the fact that you appreciate each other. Like you said, there's no egos. You appreciate each other as musicians. It's such a beautiful.
There's no room for egos anymore, Don. We're all too old, mate.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised.
We're all too old. We should know better. We should know how to treat our fellow human beings now.
Yes,
and
I
should
agree.
know what pisses people off when you're on a tour bus. We should know about alcohol and drugs and all these kind of things that people get hooked up in. We should know about that now. We're old enough and big enough, and we've been there, got it, done the t-shirt, and got the t-shirt. It's a profession. This is our job, and
right.
And how things go wrong when certain elements of bands destroy that part or take that job for granted, and it's something that doesn't happen with the band.
No.
It's a really nice unit of people to travel around the country in and around Europe. We just have a really good laugh. Everyone's got a great sense of humour. There's lots of mickey taking going on, but it's all done with respect and love and just respect, mate. That's what it is. You've got to have respect for your fellow band members.
That's fantastic. Well, Graham, I really appreciate you taking the time and doing this with me.
It's my absolute pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. Keep on up, and I'll be following you and the band, and I thank you for the music.
Bless you, sir. Thank you very much.
Great. Have a great rest of your day or evening.
Cheers, Diane, and yourself, mate. Cheers.
Thank you, Graham.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Those hands are playing the strangest musical instrument in the world. The only instrument that is not touched by hands. You ask for it.